What challenges do food manufacturers face in sourcing ingredients? Can we order small pack sizes and quantities? How to be innovative and limit the R&D costs at the same time? Do we have competitive prices for ingredients? Are we covering demand, costs, and resolving supply issues? Listen to our food ingredients experts discuss the biggest questions facing buying food ingredients today. Welcome to One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients.
Join me, Jos Vast, CEO of One to Taste, on the 6th edition of One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients, as we discuss the latest trends in food concept development. Today we have an extraordinary lineup of guests joining us. Please welcome Jos Vast from Bakery Academy, Floris Combes from Neonwhale, Roepers from PREfresco Beverage Lab, Lisanne van der Kooi from Food Scientist for Hire, and Monique van de Ven from Solidaridad. Welcome to another exciting episode of One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients, the podcast that delves into the world of food ingredients. In today's episode, we're diving headfirst into the realm of food concept development, uncovering invaluable tips and tricks. We've gathered a panel of 5 esteemed food ingredients experts, each bringing their own distinct perspective on this fascinating process. Prepare to take the wheel and steer your way towards a successful food concept as we embark on an exploration of the latest trends and groundbreaking innovation in the food concept development. Great to have you in the podcast. Could you start with a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Jos Vast. I'm from Bakery Academy. I started Bakery Academy in 2009 when I saw there was a huge amount of knowledge leaving the industry, and I wanted to gain more insight on that experience and combine that with some scientific backgrounds. And hence the name Bakery Academy. The academy part is for the connection with the science, and the bakery part is basically with the connection with our hands in the dough. So over the past years, I've gathered a few other consultants to work together with me to service clients in their challenges on product development, process improvement, and some training and education.
Okay, so in that position and in that perspective, do you actually see that life cycle of new innovations is getting shorter?
Well, not per se in the sense of that the total life cycle of an innovation from when it hits the market until it leaves the market is shorter. More the actual time we get to develop a product and bring it to the market is getting shorter.
Okay, so you mean the go-to-market period?
Yeah. So there is actually much more pressure on industry to bring products quicker to market, with the risk, of course, that when the product is not that good, it will also leave quicker the market. So potentially the life cycle, the lifespan of a new product could be shorter indeed.
Okay. Hey, and what are typical challenges when people start to innovate that you encounter in your daily work?
Yeah, so it depends. So if you have more of a startup type of enterprise, you're looking more towards upcycled ingredients, sustainability, potentially vegan or gluten-free or keto-friendly, more in that type of direction. If it's more a sustainable industry, you're looking much more towards shelf life optimization. So either it is longer or the same shelf life with lesser ingredients, or less E numbers in there. So more cleaning up the label. Probably it's not completely cleaned up, but it's slightly more friendly. And we see a huge request at the moment towards crackers. So there's much more going on in cracker, potentially because it's slightly more tasteful and having less calories than a normal biscuit or cookie would have.
Okay, and those are actually more the overarching themes that you see, or Because in terms of innovation, you're saying you're working with startups, but you're also working with more remunerated businesses. If you could balance that, how much of that is startups? How much of that is existing business?
Well, I would say the existing industry amongst our clients at this moment is somewhere around 70-80%. And of course, it depends on the type of project we have at hand. If it's more focused on improvement, or it's more focused on development.
Okay. Hey, and can you give us an example of one of your recent exciting new innovations?
Oh, yeah. So I would say there are a few that might be very interesting. So we're actually working now with a startup who is trying to bring sustainable gluten-free products to the market as some kind of bread roll, flatbread type of product, which should still have about 3 to 7 days shelf life out of the refrigerator, which is quite significant because the water activity in most gluten-free products are very high, and especially if you don't want to use any preservatives or other additives to it, it can be a quite challenging product to still have then also a reasonable tasting product. So that's one, and another example could be that we're actually working on trying to replace ammonium bicarbonate in many bakery products. On one hand, because it's focusing on reducing acrylamide formation in especially biscuits and cookies, which probably will be over the next year a quite heavy topic, as well as reducing nitrogen emissions, which is especially in the Netherlands, but also outside the Netherlands, is heavily debated due to the environment.
Sounds pretty exciting projects. And so, how does that that work in when you develop a product like that and your search for ingredients? You must be on top of all the ingredients that are available.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all the ingredients, but of course we try to keep up as much as possible, and we try to find also the common ground. So we're also looking at what would be the technical opportunity for this product compared to another product, and how can we apply that if it's, for example, used now in the meat industry. How could we apply that in baking, or if it's used in fillings for a fruit filling, for example, how can we apply that into a cake or a cream? So it's looking at functionality across different processes and products.
If there's one advice you could give the people, what would that be?
Focus on functionality you're aiming for, and not adding just ingredients because people say you should add them. Just first define what functionality I need in my product, and then search for what could fulfill that need. And perhaps you can find some unthought of benefits.
It sounds like you have a pretty nice and exciting job, Jos.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds like you're operating on the borderline of innovation and capabilities of ingredients and processes.
Yeah.
If I can reflect on what we on the One to Taste platform see is we see actually that there is increasing interest in getting samples and testing a lot. So we see that the basket size of testing ingredients is increasing over the time. We also see, and I think that is pretty similar as you saw in the overarching themes, is the health and sustainable products. So clean label is something that comes back a lot of time in requests from our customers as well. So I think in a sense it's great to hear your opinion and to get your insights, and we look forward to working together even more in the future.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Floris. Welcome to the webinar of Want to Taste. Maybe it's a good idea that we start off with a general introduction of you, Floris, and of your company, Neonwhale. Would you tell our listeners more about that?
Yes, so hi, good afternoon, Jasper. I'm indeed Floris Combes from Neonwhale. So I'm about 20 years now in food R&D as a person. And 6 years ago, I think we started with Neonwhale together, myself, and then together with Mathieu, we started up with Neonwhale as a type of one-stop shop. We want to be to help, in fact, food companies with everything around product development, product innovation, etc. Basically, what we do is we help startups, scale-ups, food companies of mid-size to corporate, all types of food companies in that field, starting from concepting new innovations and until development and upscaling them. So that's a bit
Okay.
what we do.
So that's very relevant for the discussion that we are having today. So today we're going to talk about the developments in the dairy and the beverage industry as a wider area of interest. Um, in your job in your company, you're
Hmm.
probably pretty much on top of all the trends that are happening. Can you tell us a little bit more what you see and what kind of questions your customers come to you for?
Yeah. So well, our I specifically, but then to dairy and plant-based, which is a bit which is one of our focus categories, let's say. We see in on the dairy side, we see more and more the trend again of affordable nutrition, where you see that basically milk and milk products as such have naturally a good nutritional value. They have good proteins with a high nutritional quality, and the cost is still quite low for dairy products. Although also that has been changing a bit with the rising increasing prices, but still if you compare to certain plant-based products, that is still very much affordable. So there is again a bit of a rise there, and we see it mostly in the white products, let's say the white milks, but also like typical fermented products like kefir, yogurts, etc. And you see, it's maybe a bit of a dull trend because it's a bit back to the basics, but you see there products like, for instance, a Jersey milk. A Jersey milk is a regular milk, but a bit different with um, a type of casein in there, A2 casein, which would improve a bit the digestibility. I'm not sure if that is all true, but it's good marketing. So and then also a lot of fermentations. Just letting all types of ferments going loose on the milk and then creating Turkish, Bulgarian, skyr type
Yeah.
yogurts, etc., etc. So that's definitely that's, let's say, from the positive side of the dairy, the trend that we see. Of course, dairy has on the other side also some negative points, like sustainable wise and nutritional wise, and also there we see definitely some opportunities for the dairy industry, like lactose free products, of course, which is then on the negative lactose containing aspect of milk. But also on sustainability, I read also an article that Friesland Campina, for instance, is also investing or co-investing in microbial fermentation, or microbial fermented proteins, for instance, which is you see they are also looking into that. And let's say 10 years ago, this was out of the question. So this is, you also see that they are more investing in production of plant-based products. So there are a lot of dairy factories starting to produce also plant-based products. So you see there is something going on in there. I also believe, for instance, in the future, why not mixing milk and plant-based more, like a hybrid product, which can combine the best of both worlds and making the milk, keeping the good properties like the taste and the of the milk, and combining that with plant-based to have it more sustainable, for instance, could be an idea. Yeah.
What are maybe the challenges that you face in terms of when you start making new concepts, or when customers come to you? Are there certain issues that they, for example, have in finding the ingredients, or in sourcing, or do you see challenges there?
Oh yes, but yeah, I think that's the least we can say. We are really a bit in a perfect storm. Although I had that feeling more last year and the year before already. I was doing also projects for a big plant-based producer, um, and a lot of challenges there in yeah, getting those specialty ingredients basically. Yeah. So yeah, things like inulin, I think that was a big problem in the crop 2021 2022. That is now resolved a bit.
Yeah.
Specialty proteins like formulas containing certain pea proteins that are very specific, and then at one point that pea protein is no longer available and you need to find another one, and it's a lot of testing. It's a lot of product development work going in there. So I think also when you do new projects, and we also integrated these difficulties a bit in our way of working, is having attention points on when making formulas, to already think a bit about, if we know ingredients are a bit tricky, certain types of ingredients, that we already try to have alternatives maybe in the back of our heads, or for our customers that we say, yeah, even yeah what we even yeah, for some type of ingredients is just a big mess, everything red fruits, I block everything with red fruits inside. That's now a bit out of, it's a bit less dairy and plant based, but raspberries and all types of red berries and blackberries is really eh, you have prices times five. It's you cannot do anything with that. So that's really something. Yeah, it blocks a bit the front end of those innovations. That's definitely the case. Yeah, I think it's yeah, more and more the job of product development and R&D also to take these contingencies into the back of our heads. Yeah.
So as a company, you're saying you need to actually develop five different variants of one product for different scenarios, almost.
Hmm. Sometimes, yeah, you could say so. I think there are some you can also there are some strategies you can adopt. I think getting know-how in of ingredients, a broad know-how is crucial. Having a good network with ingredient suppliers like yourself is crucial too. But also thinking about, for instance, a vertical integration of certain processes. If you buy certain specialized ingredients, why not thinking about going more upstream and buying uh, a less processed type of ingredient and trying to solve it yourself via processing yourself. In the plant-based world, for instance, it's now more and more. Most of the oat drinks, for instance, are made with syrups, and now you see more and more plant-based producers try to insource the oat, the pure oat, and do the enzymatic breakdown themselves to produce oat milk. So this is I think it's good also in that sense, because you I you have more chance to run out of oat syrup, let's say, than to run out of oat. So that's always that's also a good strategy. So, but yeah, it's something taking contingency into your operations is very important. Yep.
Okay. So if I may summarize a little bit, so you see there's a trend into the more healthy corner, but at the
Hmm.
same time there's also a underlying um, issue, which is the sourcing of sustainable or the sourcing of ingredient due to climate change or to impact on the environment. Um, I think
Yes.
that's quite interesting. Also worrying, of course, but I think
Hmm.
it's a good message to give to the world outside. Is that you need to look at your ingredients when you develop, and be prepared
Hmm.
for the issues that may occur, and that might mean, as you were saying, that you need to process more inside, or it might mean that you need to develop local suppliers or
Yeah.
different. Um,
Yeah.
what we experience in One to Taste is actually that people are looking for healthy ingredients, but are also, as you mentioned, very
Hmm.
cost conscious, um, more and more. But they also are in a struggle because we get these inquiries quite frequently. To spread the risk is they want a product coming from, say, India, and they want it from China. So people are diversifying the risk profile for their
Hmm.
ingredients.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Floris, I think we came to an end already. Um, is there some last thought that you would like to share?
Um, yeah. Well, a last thought. I'm thinking. I think, yeah, when we start up innovations, we always begin a bit with the end in mind. So we always start thinking of what does the customer want to put in the market, and what does it have the necessary consumer relevance, and by shaping that idea, we go into a sort of thinking strategy with them. And we start with a very broad briefing. And we take into account in the briefing all the problems we discussed today, problems and the trends also, to map really well um, all the different aspects you want to integrate in your product. And so there, I think it's very important for in this customer journey, let's say, to already from the beginning start with the end in mind. I think that's the key rule. Um, Whatever you can already think of issues that might pop up on ingredient sourcing, on processing the certain recipe. Taking that already along is key, I think, and that's something where our company can definitely help with, because we know already a bit what is happening upstream. Not a bit, we know it very well. So, so that's, I think, my takeaway message there.
Cool. Yeah.
Good.
Well, thank you for sharing with us your knowledge, and we know each other now for quite a period, and what I've seen is a very professional approach. Um, so I want to thank you for our conversation today, and look forward to continue our work together.
Thank you.
Hi, Peter. Great to have you in our podcast. You are our first speaker in this podcast series. Um, would it be possible if you tell a little bit what you're doing today?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, Jasper. Yes, I will be happy to tell something about it. No problem. What would you like to know?
I would love to know, Peter, what you're currently doing in your day-to-day work.
Well, okay, yes. So I run a lab in product development, let's say so, and product design, beverage technology. I do that in Amsterdam. I have customers all over the world, not only in Holland, but even worldwide, Mongolia, Singapore just recently. And I develop products, I do testing. It could be that customers come to me with a question like, how does it dissolve? Does it dissolve? How does it react? What is the shelf stability? I do some research on that, and I prepare reports or I prepare prototypes in order for the customer to judge that.
So that means that you must be actually on top of what is happening in the entire beverage industry. Or maybe that's a bit too big. I know you're going to say that anyway. But what would you see as the major trends, where are the questions coming from?
Yeah, the major trends, what you see is really natural and in combination with functional. So it is both combined together. That's what most of my projects are about right now.
And can you give us a specific example? Like, is it active ingredients or natural active ingredients, or?
Yeah, that can be active ingredients like caffeine from botanical source, like guarana, like cola nuts. It can be flavonoids from tea extracts, that kind of stuff, and then combined. Well, not combined. That's already in the question. Of course, it should be botanical and it should be healthy and it should be adding something to the product. So we are far from let's say the past where it should be only nice tasting, like a cola or a orange drink. It should have something in it, and it should be natural and it should be healthy. That's what I'm seeing right now, basically.
Oh, cool. And obviously, these ingredients are new, I think, for a big part, or they need to be developed. Maybe they're not water soluble initially, etc., etc. Do you see challenges in the ingredient space for this?
Yeah, challenges are there, of course, and very common. I always say, and it's not a joke, but it sounds a little bit unscientific. I always say that beverages are not pizza, because in a pizza, if you would add something to the recipe, you would put an onion on top. That has no complicated issues in how it behaves, because an onion and a salami don't react. But in a beverage, everything you add to the system of the recipe will have an effect on the other ingredients. You have to test it. And of course, it's helpful if you have the experience up front to know what will happen if you add an acid to, let's say, a functional ingredient. If you lower the pH, what will happen to this specific ingredient? It's very helpful if you have that kind of technological background to estimate or to foresee what is going to happen in your system.
Which makes me also wonder, do you get really bizarre requests of things that technology cannot allow these days yet?
Yeah, that's unfortunately yes. No, but there are, of course, there's always possibilities. But the question is then, how stable is it? What I see nowadays is that people, they want to have the functionality of an oil kind of ingredient, and oil and water-based systems are complicated. There is, of course, there's ways to overcome. But depending on the type of oil, it is always a challenge. But I'm getting those kind of requests, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine. And if you would have to pinpoint one of the major challenges that people have when they start developing, what would that be?
The challenges in terms of?
The challenges in terms of bringing innovative products to the market. In the product development part?
Yeah, well, that's basically what I already explained a little bit. It's the idea which people have, or let's say the startups they have a certain idea, and they don't know how to incorporate it in a recipe. So they have a very nice idea about functionality and how it should look like and how it should be packed. And then they come to me and I have to tell them up front, okay, if you want to have this ingredient and that kind of packaging with this kind of processing technology, it will not happen, or it's not possible, or you have to change this in order to be able to get it in that kind of packaging. So that kind of challenges you have, like the wish or the desire to have a certain kind of product, to translate that into a working recipe and a sellable product. Those challenges are there.
Yeah, well, it seems that you've been already helping a lot of these companies a step forward in their thinking and in their product development, I'm sure. This was already the last question I had for you. Just if I look on what we see on the One to Taste platform, it more or less resonates what you're saying. People are trying a lot of natural, organic, botanical ingredients to do something new. I think that the innovation time or the amount of new innovation in the market, at least that's my perception on what I see, is actually ramping up. So you see a lot of new trendy products in the market, which is really great to see, and also because they are predominantly healthy as well.
Right.
But I think if people want to develop something, I think it would be great if they connect with you and see how they can develop their products.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Peter.
You're welcome, Jasper.
Hi, Lisanne. Great that you are participating in today's podcast, One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients. I'm sure people would like to get to know you a little bit better, and obviously the company you work for, Food Scientist for Hire. Can you give us a brief introduction?
Yeah, of course. Good morning to you too. We are Food Scientists for Hire. My name is Lisanne van Kooi. We are food product developers, and we focus on creating recipes for companies that don't have their own R&D team. So they like to outsource it. And we also help upscaling from recipe development to factories.
All right, that sounds very exciting. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about alcoholic beverages. As you are in the center of the innovation, can you share some of your insights in regarding to what are the trends out there? How do you see the market developing?
Yeah, of course. So what we see is we get a lot of requests for RTD drinks. So alcoholic beverages with not too much alcohol, actually. You can see that it's a trend that is quite low alcohol. Sometimes we also get requests about using cocktail flavors for drinks, and then combining it with low alcohol, but also I can see a trend in non-alcoholic, but using the alcoholic flavors, like the mojito flavors, for example, cocktails. We can also see that there's an interest for the like mixers. So, for example, syrups, that is already the concentrate for the drink, and people can add their own sparkling water and combine it with vodka, and they can basically adjust the alcohol percentage themselves, because sometimes people want a lower alcohol percentage or higher or nothing at all, but still have the flavors from cocktails, basically, like I mentioned before, mojito. But also it doesn't always is like a syrup format for the mixers, but also powders. we can see that people have to mix the powder in their own drinks and prepare it. But also the RTDs, so in cans, and using like already drinks, for example, Lipton iced tea, but make it alcoholic. We can see that. And if I think beer and wine is still the most common alcoholic beverage. And what we can see, what is a bit of a trend, especially in the US, because we also work with a lot of US customers, is that they use the hops and combine it with tea leaves and create a kind of beer, but don't focus on the beer marketing. But it is an alcoholic or like a replacement drink for alcoholic drinks, but they are not, it's not the usual process how an alcohol-free beer is made, but using what I mentioned before, tea leaves, hops, and create a kind of beer flavor.
And what kind of tea is that? Is that like specific types of tea, or is it like a black tea?
Yeah, it's it can be just the regular tea leaves, and together with the hops, you can create like a berry flavor. But it can be black tea leaves. It really depends on what the customer wants. But obviously the hop also gives a really berry flavor. Yeah, so that's really quite interesting. Yeah, and also we've been working on our own real brewed ginger beers with really the quality ingredients, because people really like to use obviously natural but good quality, and if it's possible local as well. That's obviously a trend already happening for the last couple of years, but it's almost a normality that that you don't use any artificial ingredients, but focus natural, if we can, organic, local. That's like a thing. Yeah.
And these brands that make this hop tea, because I'm quite fascinated by that actually. That make that combination. Are those typical breweries, or are those more beverage companies that want to take some of the brewery market?
No, so it's not the brewers, but more like the drink companies. It's therefore not really focused on it's not a beer, but they market it more like a hop and tea drink, and then it's not like it is the usual looks of a beer, but it's more the beverage companies.
Okay, and it's low alcohol containing, eh? And low alcohol to you is like 4 or 5%, or is it lower than that? Okay, there's no alcohol at all.
No. So the brews, the hops and the teas, there's no alcohol at all. It's really like how you make a tea basically. So there's no alcohol at all. But the RTD drinks that's another side. We've had a couple of projects that RTD, so cans, and combining like the usual flavors, for example, Lipton iced tea, and make that into an alcoholic kind of drink. Yeah.
Okay, so if I can summarize a little bit, so on the one hand side, you see there's some interest in like cocktail mixes, and then on the one hand side you have the RTDs, but you also actually have these syrups, and I can see these syrups are used for at home, for people at home. Determining themselves the alcohol percentage, and can play around with those syrups. And then there is a trend of actually non-alcoholic, but trying to grab market from the alcoholic beverage for alcoholic, right? And there you mentioned the hops and the tea. I'm really going to look this up because I'm quite fascinated about what you just told us. Because I never saw it, so it triggers me. What we typically see on the One to Taste platform is that that a lot of brewers are using juice concentrates and flavoring to create new trendy products in the market, but also in the energy drinks or in the natural drinks. We see some movement where people are using new flavor types or concentrates to create new developments. So it's actually more or less in line with what you're saying. I think it's super great what you guys are doing, and must be a super nice job to be always in the center of innovation. And I really admire the work that you guys are doing. And basically, we come to an end. But if there's one last thought that you would like to share before we close, what would that be?
Well, that's I just think that the innovation doesn't stop. So we see that people are looking for new things, different products, and so innovation always keeps happening, and I think it will still happen in the future, which is obviously good for us to see all the trends, and good for yourselves as well, I guess. So that's my last my last thing to say.
Well, thank you very much, Lisanne, and we'll for sure be in touch. I hope to see you, hopefully, also in future episodes, coming back and sharing these great insights. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hi, Monique. Welcome to Want to Taste Talks Food Ingredients, with a special subject of today is sustainability. And who better to talk to than to you, Monique? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Solidaridad, the NGO you're working for?
Yeah. Thank you, Jasper, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about this important topic. My name is Monique van de Vijver, as you said. I work with Solidaridad for 20 years now, and my career in sustainability goes back for 30 years. I was at the very start of the Max Havelaar Fair Trade certification label when it was launched, and that was an initiative of Solidaridad. And since then, many other initiatives have been developed and implemented and tested with smallholder farmers in the field.
Very interesting. Certainly, knowing that you've been involved in Max Havelaar, which was early days, actually fair products into the markets. We're talking a little bit about the new trends in the market, where sustainability is actually a kind of backbone towards new creation of ingredients. How is Solidaridad looking at that, and what is your perspective? Even taking your long history with also Max Havelaar, how do you see this developing?
Well, I think sustainability is a trend in itself now. When you talk about trends in the food industry, and I think it is a trend not only because it is fashionable, not anymore because it is fashionable, or maybe because you can use it to increase your sales, but it is becoming clear that there are real and serious issues at source, and that we have to start doing things differently if we want to secure also the future success of our food businesses.
And if you say that, do you see, because you've been working in this field for 20 years, do you see a difference today versus 20 years ago? Is there more acceptation in the market? How do you see that?
Yeah, so let us go back more than 30 years ago when Max Havelaar was launched. Back then, it was very hard to convince businesses to even step in this fair trade labeling approach. So more doors were closed on us than opened for us. So that was really a big difference. maybe 10 years after, when we also got involved in the roundtables for sustainable palm oil, sustainable soy, sustainable sugarcane, then things started changing and we became more visible in the industry, and companies started knocking our doors also because we were able to reach more scale in our operations. So that was then already a big trend and a big change, of course. And now what I see is that the importance of the lessons learned by Solidaridad over the past 30 years is also, I think, important for real change to happen. Because if now, in the past 30 years, we are where we are, we can only say that problems got worse, not better. So that means that more radical solutions are needed. And it actually means that we have to transform the way in which we do business. So, of course, businesses are very much profit driven, and it is all about maximizing growth, maximizing profit, and then at the cost of lowering your input costs. So, and also at lowering the cost of your labor. And that is has shown to be a killing way of doing business, because you can see all the social unrest, the political unrest, the damage which is now being done to nature, our ecology, our climate. So this is a dead end street. And I think our conclusion is that we have to actually transform the way we do business. And that is, I think, the agenda that we want to drive now.
Yeah, you once said as well that you want to go beyond certification for ingredients. And so how is Solidaridad trying to help this pull off and taking all the learnings from the past and make it work?
Yeah. So you mentioned also to me earlier, so about you asked me about the scalability of what we do, right? So, and I think what we try to do after launching Fairtrade Max Havelaar through the corporate sustainability, the corporate social responsibility (CSR) approach, and then the roundtable approach, the sector transformation approach, that was very much meant to scale up the numbers, right? So that meant that more smallholder farmers were involved. But what we see is that in the end, the global players, the big corporates, they don't want to pay higher prices. So after Fairtrade, no other sustainability certification actually guaranteed a minimum price to farmers. And that actually is very much what they need to be able to invest, for instance, in their resources and the quality of their produce. So I think now, after 30 years, we need to kind of close back that circle and understand that, we cannot continue this way of working. But we also see that these big businesses, they are anonymous businesses. So they are shareholder owned, they are shareholder value driven. And so we don't see them change and transform that easily. So I think it is very important, that we start focusing more on small and medium players in the industry, because also it has been, of course, the policy and the strategy of the big players to push out the smaller ones and to increase their strength and their power by fully integrating their supply chains, because that provides the maximum control and maximum profit, of course, throughout. So for us and for me especially, it is important, to start focusing on the small and medium enterprise, where anyhow, I see more innovation. I see more interest in sustainability. I see a lot of companies coming up, which I call new economy companies, which are purpose-driven. So it is not only about the profit, it is also about the impact, or at least they are more aware that they don't want to do harm, to resources, to nature, and to people.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. Absolutely, we believe in the small and medium-sized enterprises and the change they're driving. A great example is Willie Croft, who has as a CEO Mother Nature. Having said that, so what programs do you have to empower? We work together, obviously, but what other programs are you doing, or education programs do you have to actually reach those SMEs?
Yeah, so what I'm noticing is that Solidaridad, we have focused a lot on, of course, working with smallholder farmers, training them on good agricultural practices, organizing them, training them to become more entrepreneurial when it comes to farming. And then we would link them up to processing industry, which is generally local and which is generally then supplying to the global players in the industry. So in that sense, we have not gone so much beyond, the local enterprises. And I think, in our collaboration, we've been looking at how can we build shorter supply chains? How can we make them more direct? And how can we establish more direct linkages between small and medium players and in the countries of origin and between the buying companies here? And that is a challenge. I will never say sustainability is easy. You will never hear me say that, building these short supply chains is easy, but it is for me definitely the road that we must start walking. And I think, if we work together on this, and if we build like a network of companies, small and medium enterprises, which share the values that support sustainability, then I think, in time we can grow and we can make it work.
I completely agree. Unfortunately, Monique, it's already come to an end. And I really appreciate it. And I'm sure we're going to talk more with you in the future because I think we can zoom in on a lot of different subjects. And I would like to take the time for that in another podcast, maybe. But for now, thank you so much for taking the time to share your long experience. And we'll be obviously in touch. And people can always go to the Want to Taste on the sustainability on Solidaridad, or can go directly to Solidaridad to see what you guys are doing for a lot of people. Thank you very much, Monique.
Thank you so much, Jasper. We'll be in touch, and maybe next time we can do a podcast from India or somewhere, in a country of origin where you can maybe directly share also the story of the smallholder farmers.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Wonderful. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Developing a Food Concept podcast. Our 5 ingredients experts have provided invaluable insights into the latest trends in food concept development. We extend our sincere gratitude to our expert guests and invite you to join for our next episode as we continue to delve into the captivating world of food ingredients. This was Want to Taste Talks Food Ingredients. If you want to know more, please check our website.